Welcome back to our book club. But before we begin the new chapter, we'd like to remind you that if you're either working on this by yourself or with a group, this book club is not only a study session of the passages of this best-selling book in Spiritism, but it's also an opportunity for us to reflect in an inner journey, self-discovery, with some exercises that we're going to suggest to you. Well, here we are where we have stopped. Chapter 3, in Jerusalem. Emmanuel narrates to us the most dramatic scene of Jeziel seeing his father dying and his sister being sent away by herself and alone, and he's left to slavery. At those very tormenting moments, as Emmanuel describes, Jeziel recalls a teaching and a counsel of spirituality from his mother when in his childhood, when she said, "One should love God above everything else." Those very words kept him from rebelling, kept him alive. Otherwise, he would have fought against the guards and most certainly he would have died. Now, before we continue, how about if we reflect on lessons that we received in our childhood? Lessons of spirituality. Can you recall any of them? Let's brainstorm on it. What were your lessons of spirituality in your childhood? Not necessarily we're asking you to recall the lessons that were given by your parents. They may have been given to you by teachers, neighbors, relatives, books, TV programs, anything. At least one that you think nowadays comes to you as something that strengthens your soul and keeps you aligned and moving forward. Think about it. All right. So then what happened to Jeziel? Of course, Emmanuel says he wanted to break the chains. He wanted to help his dying father. He wanted to go after his sister. He wanted to... But the counsel of his mother since his childhood kept him rational and alive. He was sent to slavery. And then, during those very difficult moments when he was in prison, before he was sent to the galleys, he recalled the teachings of the Proverbs of the Old Testament, when he says to himself that he learned that serenity of the soul was crucial in all the vicissitudes of human life. This teaching of the Proverbs can help us in today's crisis, because at this most difficult time, when people are sent away from their homes, when they are either going to wars or having their families split by financial crisis, by unemployment, what should we do? The Proverbs give us a good counsel, serenity in all the vicissitudes of life. That was Jeziel's choice as well. He was sent to slavery, to the galleys. From Corinth, that ship was sent to another location, Cephalonia. And interesting enough, his composure, his politeness, his spirituality kept himself from being mistreated oftentimes, and most of all, he was admired by the people who were ruling the ship at a time, from the captain to others, including his colleagues who were also slaves and wanted to rebel. And once he said, "Look, all work is God's work, my friend," and he was highly inspired until the very day when the ship arrived at Cephalonia This is an actual picture of Cephalonia in Greece. At the time, they used to name it Achaia. In Greece, a very prominent and distinguished passenger came in, a young Roman named Sergius Paulus. Sergius Paulus, he got in, but unfortunately, he got very ill. He got sick. Everybody was fearful of being contaminated. They had to choose a man, one of the slaves, one that was most polite, to be of help to Sergius Paulus. And they decided Jeziel would be the one. Jeziel took good care of Sergius Paulus to the day that Sergius Paulus was actually healed. Sergius was so grateful that the day everybody realized Jeziel got sick himself, the captain wanted to send him away in deep ocean. Then Sergius Paulus himself decided, in gratitude, to set Jeziel free. But he had an agreement. He said, I'll set you free, but once I leave you at Palestine, you assure me that you change your name and never mention to anyone, because I'm good friends with Licinius Minucius, who can never know that I actually set one of his slaves free. And Jeziel was most grateful. And then Emmanuel says, on the following day, at the predicted time, the row houses of Palestine came into view. And as the first stars began to twinkle in the night sky, a small skiff approached the silent shore, crewed by two men whose silhouettes were lost in the darkness. Sergius spoke his final words of good advice and farewell, and the young Jew gratefully kissed his benefactor's right hand. The Roman quickly returned to the galley with a clear conscience. Jeziel, then, had barely taken his first steps when he had to sit down, racked by pain all over his body and natural weakness owing to the consuming fever. So there is Jeziel. He was set free because he obeyed as his mother suggested, God's will. Even when he was sent to slavery, even when he had seen his father murdered in front of him, even when he saw his dear sister be sent away by herself, he kept himself faithful to God's will, which was unknown to him, but he knew that rebelliousness, the opposite of serenity, would not be the real choice. So then, let us meditate on our teachings of spirituality that we have received in this life. So I'd like to suggest you that we wrap up this chapter 3, part 1, with this exercise, either by yourself or in a group. Draw. Even if you don't have much artistic skills, it doesn't matter. It's mostly about expressing your spiritual preparation that you think you received for this life's, these reincarnations challenges. Meditate on it. Reflect on it.